How's it going, everybody? This is RBT coming at you with another edition of Friday Questions and Answers. I'm so tired right now. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning. I haven't made this video yet, but you know, I gotta do whatever it takes. Gotta come at you with this video every single Friday. So here I am, about to fall asleep. Gotta record the video, then gotta go edit it for like an hour, but you know, it is what it is. Real quick on a side note, actually very important, if you didn't check out my video earlier this week, I decided to create 2 new channels, one for sports coverage and one for fitness. The links to those will always be in the description of my videos below. It's youtube.com/RBTsports and youtube.com/ProveThemWrongFitness, FTNESS, not the whole word fitness. There wasn't enough letters for fitness, but there you go. Please go subscribe to those channels. I'm going to be starting to make videos on those very, very soon. I think I'm actually going to be uploading a video on the Prove Them Wrong Fitness channel the same day I upload this. I'm working on my first conference preview for my RBT Sports channel, SEC preview and prediction. I'm putting a lot of effort into that. And I've actually been really busy. I almost had it finished, and now I got to go back and do the commentary for it. I have everything written out and everything produced. I just have to do the voiceover and do the commentary. So hopefully that will come out this weekend, maybe even today at the latest Monday I will have it out. I wanted to have it out earlier, but I've just been really caught up with things. But without further ado, let's get into the questions. Question number 1 comes from Caleb Schlisler. He asked, what do you think of those Jets, RBT? You got the quickest quarterback and the quickest halfback in the game today in New York this year. I think it's really interesting what New York did this offseason. They don't have much drama anymore. They got 2 really solid prospects in Calvin Pryor and Jason Morrow. You bring in a veteran quarterback in Michael Vick, who a lot of people believe will actually beat out Geno Smith for the starting job. They bring over Chris Johnson, who, like you said, is the fastest running back in the league right now. Also, they brought in Eric Decker, the wide receiver from the Broncos, who had a great time in Denver, and that's really what the Jets have been missing, is some threats in the passing department, and they really fixed that this offseason, and they brought in some legitimate threats. A quarterback that could, if he doesn't start, Vic could really provide the leadership experience to Geno Smith, and that could help out just as much as him playing. So I think what the Jets did this offseason was very interesting and very productive. It's unlike your usual Jets year with the off-the-field drama. There's nothing really there. Although I have heard Jason Morrow has really struggled this offseason. I mean, he's transitioning from the Texas Tech no-huddle spread to the Jets offense, so that's probably expected. But aside from that, it's been pretty clean. And the Jets, I'm not sure if they make it far this year. I mean, I'm not sure if they make the playoffs, but nonetheless, I think they are improved from last year. And I think what they did is really interesting, and if they don't do good, they'll be fun to watch nonetheless. Question number 2 comes from Tristan Bowe. He asks, do you think Johnny Manziel will have a great rookie season? I think it's either one of 2 things. I think he comes into Cleveland and plays out of his mind just like he did in college. I think he puts up insane stats and just wows everybody and definitely proves the haters and the doubters wrong. Or 2, he comes in and is a complete bust. I think it's one of those 2, and I know it's kind of crazy, but I really believe that's the case. And I like to lean on the side saying he can come in and be great, but we'll just have to see. So I think it's going to be one of those 2 things. Question number 3 comes from Mr. Awesome. He asked, do you think the missed field goal run back in the Iron Bowl was the best play in college football history? I don't know, it definitely ranks up there. I mean, there's some that come off the top of my mind, but I think that it definitely has to rank up there. I'm one to kind of be hesitant when the phrase best ever or worst ever is used, but when you really sit back and think about it, that was pretty epic, and not necessarily just the play itself, but what it set Auburn up for after, and really the circumstances that Auburn had been in. I mean, it's after they already had that amazing play against Georgia to end that game and keep the streak rolling. They go into the Iron Bowl and playing for a chance to play for the SEC championship and then a national championship. They get it done in another amazing fashion. So just the circumstance that the play was in outside of itself really makes it one of the greatest plays, I believe, ever. And the fact that I was there as an Alabama fan, that sucked. Question number 4 comes from Gaming with Thou or Tho. He asked thoughts on Clemson versus Carolina 2014. It's going to be a tough game. It always is. I know Carolina's kind of had the upper hand in the past 3, 4, 5 years, but it's always a tough game. But I think this one really comes down to the fact that I think Carolina has a more established quarterback, Dylan Thompson, and Cole Stout, or Deshaun Watson, the new incoming quarterback starts for Clemson. Regardless, it's going to be a new face. Dylan Thompson's had plenty of playing time at South Carolina the past few years. I mean, he's played a good bit when Connor Shaw's been hurt, or he struggled, or he just came in and tried to provide some sparks. But Dylan Thompson, aside from that, is a great quarterback. You have Mike Davis in the backfield. You got some solid wide receivers. I think the defense is going to be solid, although they do lose a good bit, and especially Jadeveon Clowney off that line, even though he didn't produce that much last year. But I still think, if I had to predict right now before anything else happens in the season, I think South Carolina wins it. Question number 5 comes from Will. It's a Big Show 97. He asks, out of all the freshmen coming into Alabama this year, who are you most looking forward to seeing play the most? He says he'd have to say Deshaun Hand, and I'd have to agree. Either Deshaun Hand or one of the new cornerbacks, because they're probably going to play right away, Tony Brown and Marlon Humphrey. So Deshaun Hand, the best player in the country coming in, he's going to probably play day one, and he has had so many NFL-type comparisons, legend comparisons, and, I mean, Alabama's never had they've had great recruiting classes in the past decade, or ever since Nick Saban's been here, but with all that, they've never had the #1 prospect in the country commit to him, and that's what Deshaun Hand was, #1 prospect in the country, committed to sign. He's there now. And I think just off that fact alone, I'd have to say him as well. Question number 6 comes from Not Mice Elf 123. He asked, would you rather have Johnny Manziel or Blake Bortles on your favorite team? I believe a lot of people know my favorite team is the Titans. And if to answer your question, when the Titans picked at 11, I already had a video thumbnail up that said, because I was going to make a video on the Titans' first pick. I already had made a video thumbnail for the potential video I was going to make that said, Titans select Johnny Manziel, 11th overall pick. I was so excited because I thought for sure the Titans was going to get Johnny Manziel. I was so excited. And when Roger Goodell said Taylor Lewan, I was so mad. Like, I don't know, I think I had to walk downstairs because my mom had kept talking to me, and I felt bad because I was so mad I didn't want to say anything back. So I just went downstairs, did not talk to anybody, and just sat there and just wanted to jump out of a window. It was bad. So that answers your question. I really wanted Johnny Manziel on the Titans. Question number 7 comes from Razorback Fan 1995. He says, during Alabama football games, do you watch it with your family or by yourself? When the Hogs play, I watch it by myself for temper-wise. I don't know, it depends. I like to watch it with other people. I don't really like watching them by myself. I mean, not saying that I don't enjoy it, but I'd rather watch it with other people. I usually watch them with my dad. My mom watches them occasionally. But if they're losing or the game's really close, I get nervous. I don't necessarily get mad, but I get nervous, and I have to either walk upstairs to my own room and watch the game there, or I just get real nervous. Like, for example, I believe the not the Sugar Bowl, the SEC Championship in 2012, I believe I had to run upstairs and watch it by myself because I was so nervous. And then, what other game was, oh, the LSU game, was it the year before last, the TJ Yeldon screen pass touchdown to win the game. I had to walk upstairs because I was so nervous. It was crazy. And when he caught that touchdown pass, I ran downstairs, and I think my mom and dad was watching downstairs, and I was just running around the house. I was so excited. But there's been other times, like I believe the Sugar Bowl when Alabama got beat by Utah. Oh my God, I was so mad. I don't usually get mad at football games like that, but I think that was actually the last game I really got mad at. Like the Iron Bowl last year, I wasn't even mad. I was just like completely just in shock. I mean, in my opinion, you couldn't have been mad at that like that. I just witnessed history. But I mean, obviously you have a sour taste in your mouth and you're aggravated because, I mean, frick, you just lost the Iron Bowl and the craziest play ever, but still you're just like what the heck? But the last game I was actually mad at was the Sugar Bowl, and I was actually taking it out on other people. I was so mad. I had to come in my room and lock my door. It was bad, but I mean, that was like, what was that, 5 years ago? I was like 13, no, how old am I now, 19? Whatever, I was like 13 or 14. I was younger at the time, so I have a little better, I have an excuse there, but still, to answer your question, simply put, I usually try to watch it with other people. Question number 9, I believe. If it's not 9, I'm sorry, but I'm counting it as 9. Comes from Sports Guy 12. He says, or asks, do you think Ole Miss could have a chance at winning the SEC West since it's so wide open? And what do you say their record will be? I'll answer that first question, and I say yes, it's a possibility. Ole Miss has a good bit coming back. They're one of the few teams that have an established quarterback coming back, and Bo Wallace. They have some talent along the defense. And so the SEC is wide open. I think I've said this many times in my questions and answers. I think this is the year that a surprise team can come out and win. I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but it definitely opens up a possibility. And what will their record be, I'm not going to say because my SEC preview is coming out soon. What the SEC preview and predictions will pertain, I will list the teams 7 through 1 in each division. I'll go through each team's. I'm setting it up to where I talk about the returners coming back, how many returners come back on each side of the ball, and I just go through just my thoughts on the team, and I give a record prediction, and I give let you know who they lose to, who I believe they lose to, and I think most of the teams I have in there have toss-ups, and I would like, for example, let's say I had Ole Miss going 7-5. Say for sure I have them losing 3 games, and then I have 4 on their schedule that I have as toss-ups, and I said they split those games, therefore they'd have 5 losses and 7 wins. So that's how most of my preview is going to go when I go into records. So be sure to tune in to my SEC preview on the RBT Sports channel coming out real soon. Go subscribe if you haven't already. And last question of the episode, even if it's a question I'm not sure if it's 9 or 10, I can't keep count like this, but it comes from Anthony Blaylock. He asked, do you think the Texans could make the playoffs this year? Who is the most overrated team headed into the college football team and most underrated? So technically that's like 3 questions, so you think you get your money's worth out of this one. But to answer your question, I think the Texans make the playoff. I don't know. I thought, and I said before the NFL draft, if they ended up getting Teddy Bridgewater and Jadeveon Clowney, I thought for sure they're going to make the playoffs. Now, I'm not so sure because their quarterback situation isn't necessarily set in stone. You have 3 guys that could start. You have Tom Savage, you have Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Case Keenum. And I don't necessarily think any 3 of those guys are enough Super Bowl caliber quarterbacks. But we'll have to see on that one. Can they lead them to a playoff or a division title? I don't know. But the talent around them is definitely improved. I mean, having Jadeveon Clowney and J.J. Watt in the same line, that's ridiculous. They got a good tight end in C.J. Fedorowicz. They got, I like their other, Jay Prosh from Auburn. I thought that was a good pickup too. They got a lot of good draft picks. I really like the Texans draft, although I was kind of questioning the Tom Savage pick. But Lewis Nix as well, that was a big guy from Notre Dame that can clog in that line. That defensive line is going to be ridiculous for Houston. But to answer your question right now, I don't think so. If they'd have got Teddy Bridgewater, like I said, I would have said yes. But right now, I'm kind of hesitant. I'd have to say no. Second part of the question, who is the most overrated team headed into the college football season? Honestly, I believe Oklahoma is. Not because they're a bad team, just because they beat Alabama by about 35,000 points. They are supposed to be the best team, well, one of the best teams in the country. Maybe I think a lot of polls have them 4-3-2. I think most polls have Florida State number 1, but most polls have Oklahoma in the top 5. And I can understand why, but you got to look at Oklahoma's season as a whole last year. They were extremely mediocre up into the last 2 of the games for them of the season. They beat Oklahoma State pretty good. Their offense played well then, and the offense against Alabama was just unbelievable. The team as a whole played unbelievable against Alabama. But the other 11 games of the year, they were extremely mediocre, and I'd be hesitant to call them a top 25 team outside of those last 2 games. Trevor Knight was not good at all during the season. He was very mediocre. The offense was. The defense, okay, I'll give him that. The defense played pretty well throughout the year. They had some hiccups here and there, but still, the defense was good, but the offense was so bad. for the most part of the season. So the question is Oklahoma going to play like they did the last 2 games of the season all year long? If they play like that, yeah, they're a top 5 team and are deserving of all the hype. But even if they don't play as bad as they did the first 11 games, but don't play up to par the last 2 games, I think they're just too hyped if that's the case, and even remotely close to the case. So I would have to say Oklahoma, although they did beat Alabama down like a drum, but still I'd have to say Oklahoma. And for the most underrated team, this is probably completely off the wall, and it's such a homer thing to say. But I gotta say it because I just sat here for like 2 or 3 minutes just trying to think, and I could not think of one blatant underrated team off the top of my head. So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say South Alabama, because this team, I honestly, wholeheartedly believe this team is a top, I would say top 40 team in the country. They honestly, I promise you, have a top 5 tight end unit. If not the best tight end unit in the country, I promise you. Remember the name Wes Saxton. The guy will be an absolute monster in the NFL. The guy is a beast. They have 4 or 5 tight ends that I believe could start for 90% of the teams in the country. So that's just one unit. The wide receiver unit is also just unbelievable. They have 6, 7, 8 wide receivers deep that I believe could start on most teams in the country as well, or at least play sparingly, but still, that's 8 wide receivers I believe that can play just about anywhere in the country. The quarterback, Brandon Bridge, he's a sleeping giant. The guy's 6'6". He runs like a deer. He has a strong arm, but his accuracy is the question mark. He went to the Manning camp this past summer, and he made it to the finals. Beat out guys like Bryce Petty, Marcus Mariota, and a bunch of other guys. Made it to the finals against Sean Mannion of Oregon State, who was a really good quarterback. Put up insane stats last year. Got beat out there, but still making a name for himself. I believe I saw an NFL.com article about Brandon and said that he's one of the top 5 sleeper quarterbacks in this year's draft. And the guy has all the potential in the world, and he could be an absolute beast. The running back position is kind of a question mark. I have some leaders on defense as well, but still, this team's a sleeping giant, I promise you. And I really honestly believe week 3, Mississippi State comes into town, plays South Alabama. South Alabama hosts them at home. And there's a big push to try to get game day to come, which is a possibility. Looking at the slate of games, the only other game that could have game day is Oklahoma and Tennessee. But game day, you know, likes to go to off-the-wall type schools at least once a year. Nobody would expect a South Alabama game. There's been a huge social media push for this game to get covered by game day, so we'll see. But honestly, I do believe we have a good chance to beat Mississippi State in that game. I honestly, wholeheartedly believe that. So, homer pick, you just had a little South Alabama Jaguar lesson, but I do believe we have a good shot this year, and I do believe we're going to catch a couple teams by surprise. Can we beat South Carolina later on in the year? I don't believe, but still, we're a lot better than people perceive of South Alabama. Not a lot of people know about South Alabama, and last year, I believe the team is a lot better than last year's team. We went into Knoxville and about beat Tennessee, came about 10 yards short of forcing overtime at the end of the game, but still, that's my answer to your question. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this edition of Friday Questions and Answers. As always, leave a question in the comment section below so you have a chance to be featured in next Friday's episode. Once again, if you have not checked out my new channels, please be sure to do so. The links, once again, are in the description box below. YouTube.com/RBT Sports and YouTube.com/ProveThemWrongFitness. And the end is FTNESS, all in caps. So please go check those out. Hit that like button if you haven't already, and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. And that's about it. I'll catch you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day, and I guess have a great week as well. I'll catch you guys next Friday. Don't forget to leave a question,